Thanks, Jay. Good afternoon, everybody. I've been a shareholder of Newrange for several years. Joined the board March of last year, and was just recently appointed CEO on January 2nd, so just a couple of weeks ago. Consequently, it's my first public presentation for Newrange, and so you guys get to be my guinea pigs. So, of course, one of the nice things about being a new guy is that any forward-looking statements that don't turn out the way we hope they will, I can just blame it on previous management. So Newrange, one of the reasons that I got involved with the company, both as a shareholder initially and then director of management and so on, is I grew to have a lot of respect for that management team. They say people is really what makes the difference in the company, and I've certainly found that in my own experience. And so Robert Carrington and his team have done a tremendous job to date on various projects, but the company was previously focused in Colombia, and then in 2016 refocused in the U.S., in Nevada specifically. And they have a very good approach to the projects, where we try to get as much money into the ground as possible, very cost conscious. And about 70% or 80% of the company is currently owned by the top 20 shareholders. Management owns about 9%. So it's quite a tightly held structure, and a very well-run company. Robert and his team, and including myself, we've built companies, we've made discoveries, and I think it's a great team, and I'm really happy to be part of it. So now, working in Nevada, we have a really unique opportunity here because the Pamlico project is a project that was in production previously. At the time, in the 1800s, was known as one of the highest grade gold districts in Nevada. But then it's been privately owned since 1896. Consequently, it's never seen much in the way of modern exploration. And so now Newrange has an opportunity to really explore the project and hopefully develop that, build up a resource. There's never been a resource of any kind on the project, and move forward with it. So it's quite a unique opportunity in Nevada, and a very exciting one. I think most people are pretty familiar with Nevada by now, and are aware that it's the 5th largest gold producer in the world. If Nevada was its own country, it's considered by the Fraser Institute to be the third most desirable mining jurisdiction in the world. A little over 5.5 million ounces produced in 2017, and about 169 million since 1835. So a very, very prolific region. We're situated in the northern part of the Walker Lane trend on kind of the southwest or western part of Nevada. Walker Lane itself has produced about 53 million ounces of gold and a significant amount of silver as well. And most of that has actually come from a kind of an east-west trend where it intersects the Walker Lane, called the Pancake Range Lineament. And get the just on this trend coming across through here, and Round Mountain being the biggest producer on that trend. So you can see Pamlico sits right on that trend, and we think that's an important structural juncture. So the project itself is it's always been known as a high-grade district, but this is something that's relatively new, is the fact that the old-timers, of course, didn't know about oxide gold, fine flour gold, micron size, that type of thing. They were only after the coarse, visible gold that you could see in some of the quartz veins. And what we're finding now is that the zone of mineralization is oxidized down to a depth of 200 to 300 meters, and a lot of it is really amenable to heap leach recovery, and we've been doing some metallurgical work to demonstrate that. So this is, in a sense, a bit of a new discovery of an old district. And as I mentioned, it's quite a unique opportunity in Nevada. We have an option to earn 100% of the project. It's just off the main highway that runs from Reno to Las Vegas, so infrastructure is fantastic. We've got a paved highway to within about 7.5 miles of the project, and the rest of the way is on an all-weather gravel road. Town of Hawthorne is only about 12 miles away. And so, we've got infrastructure, power line crosses the property, so everything is there that you'd need for future development. And so now it's really just up to us to prove it up. So we have multiple targets that we're looking at, and most of the work that's been done to date is focused on what's called the Merritt area, just behind me here, just in this area here. But the majority of the work that we've done is within that sort of green area that's outlined. But there are multiple targets and in various stages of proving these up and testing them and so on. So we'll be developing these and testing them as we move forward with the project. So what we have actually done, just in the 2 years that we've been there, is property-wide geophysical surveys, magnetic, radiometric, gravity, and increase the property size through staking. We've sampled what we call a decline, and for anyone unfamiliar, a decline is essentially just a tunnel, a ramp that goes down into the earth at a slight angle. And this was done by the family that owns the property, the Merritt family, and they were putting in this decline, spent several $1 million to it to get to a particular target that they thought existed out there. They ended up stopping just shy of it, but one of the interesting things is that they didn't actually sample much of the material as they were driving this ramp down through the mineralized zones, and that turned out to be very significant, and I'll show you that in a moment. We have been continuing with mapping and sampling, both surface and underground. There are more than 300 old mine workings dating back to the 1800s and early 1900s on the property. No maps to go with those, no sampling, so we've been working on that steadily. A little bit of trenching, 3 drill programs. Started some preliminary metallurgy, and we just completed a 4-hole test program with diamond drilling. So just the area that we're looking at here, it's about 2.5 kilometers along strike and about 1 kilometer wide. Several zones. You can just see at the end of the arrow on the top here, this is the decline area right there where it goes underground. So that's where a lot of the work has been focused, just to try and get a better understanding of what we're actually dealing with here. But you can see some of the lighter patches on what we call the Pamlico Ridge, just in through here. These are all a lot of the old workings, so those 300-odd tunnels and mine dumps and so on. So this whole ridge area is just riddled with old mine workings. So, I think there's something pretty significant there, and unfortunately there's no records really of production, but we'll figure that out sooner or later. The decline itself, as I mentioned, we sampled the walls going down, and got very good grades on both walls, such that the composite average was 75.5 meters of 2.9 grams per ton. So very significant, some very high grades in some of those areas as well. You can see, sort of better than 10 grams per ton, in some cases over 30 grams over an ounce per ton. So very significant grades on this going down. Just a few highlights from some of the drilling that we've done. Again, we just kind of scanned down the numbers here without getting into a lot of detail, sort of in the multiple ounce range in certain places, and then over narrower widths, and then wider widths of slightly lower grade. But if we're able to prove up enough tonnage on this and have an open pit on something like this, then certainly 1 gram plus 2 grams, 3 grams certainly would be a nice grade for an open pit. So what we've been doing recently and continue to work on is the preliminary metallurgy. We've done some cyanide shake assays, which gave us a really good indication that this rock could be very amenable to heap leaching, which would be important from an open pit perspective, especially. Very good recoveries on even the low grade material. And we've just sent in this week some additional samples for bottle roll tests. So again, that'll give us a better idea of where we're at with on the metallurgical sampling. The core drilling program I mentioned, we drilled 3 twin holes, so just about a meter away from some of the RC. And from the core, we're actually able to log the core, see the fractures in the veins, and once the assays come back, and we should get those fairly soon, then we'll be in a better position to actually interpret where the gold is coming from and be able to compare that to the results from the RC program and give us a much better sense of the controls on the gold mineralization. Underground surveying, we just started a LiDAR, which is a laser underground surveying program, which is a remarkable unit, a remarkable new technology. And we hope to have some of that up on our website fairly soon, because basically it's very cost effective. It's much faster than normal surveying. You get sub-centimeter accuracy because the laser unit is collecting about 300,000 data points per second. And so it maps the inside of the tunnels and gives you that accuracy so that when we sample the tunnels, we can actually then go back and build a 3-dimensional model of where the gold mineralization is in all of the roughly 8 kilometers of underground workings, which we currently don't have a map for. So it's going to be a very, very significant survey for us and also help us in targeting our drill holes going forward. So what to expect in 2019 for right now and into Q2. We're going to continue those metallurgical studies. We should be drilling again at Pamlico Ridge by March, I hope. And as I mentioned, the underground surveying, mapping, sampling is ongoing. By Q3, we should be drilling at one of the other parallel targets at Gold Box Canyon, hopefully trenching out on the pediment zone, which is a strike extent of the Merritt area, and continuing to mapping and sampling on the eastern zones, which are more reconnaissance, larger scale targets at this point in time. And then by Q4, more drilling, but perhaps more importantly, we hope to have a maiden resource out on the project by the fourth quarter. So that's ultimately our goal for the year. I'm going to be spending a lot of my time on the road building awareness for the company while Robert and his team works hard on site. And I'm confident that we'll get some great results here, and I would certainly encourage you to come by the booth and learn a little bit more. So thanks very much for your attention.